Bonjour.
Anne-Marie Leclerc et je suis la directrice exécutive
M-
avec
My
le
name
monde de
is
l'Outaouais,
Leclerc, and I'm the
l'environnement
executive
réseau et
director
la recherche en
for
santé et
the
sociale au Québec.
Tahiti Okontati
Nous
Network
aimerions
Environment for
commencer
Indigenous
ce
Health
webinaire
Research. We would like
par
to
remercier
begin
tous nos
in
panélistes
webinar
qui ont
by
accepté de
thanking
partager
all
avec
the
nous
people,
et
panelists
avec
who
vous
agree to share
aujourd'hui
with
le
us
travail qu'ils font
the research
et leur
work we do.
engagement envers le milieu de
We
la
would like
recherche.
also to thank the people
Nous
that are
aimerions
here in the
également
audience and to
remercier toutes
share
les
their
personnes
interest
qui
in
sont ici en tant que
fueling
spectateurs
discussion
et qui
on
partagent
promising
notre
practices
intérêt
that
à
promote
alimenter
research
des
and
discussions
environment
portant sur
in
les pratiques
the
prometteuses
First People.
favorisant les environnements de recherche par et
We
pour
are
les
favoring
peuples.
the environment, of
Nous nous
course.
trouvons actuellement à
We
Jojobé,
are
dans
right
le
now
CD
at the
Ganyingaga, aussi
Tientake,
fréquenté
unceded
historiquement par la
Kaniekake territory,
nation
also
Anishinaabe.
historically visited by the
Cependant, nos
Anishinaabe
spectateurs et
nation.
nos
However,
panélistes
as our
de
audience and
plusieurs
panelists
endroits du
come from many different
de
places in the
Québec,
territory known
nous vous
today as
invitons à
Quebec,
partager dans le chat
we
votre
invite you to
personne
share in the
qui a
chat and
façonné le
the
territoire
Indigenous
sur
people who
lequel vous
have
vivez aujourd'hui
shared and shaped
et
the land
passer la
on
parole à
which we
Audrey.
find ourselves today. Thank you very much, Leila, for your introduction. So, good morning to all. I hope you had a beautiful summer and you enjoyed yourself really well. And I hope that you had time to spend a little bit of time with your dear people, your friend, your families, and so forth. We're really very happy to welcome you for this first autumn presentation. I'd like to remind you that the webinar series is dedicated to research and Indigenous people, and it is really led 100% by the community, for the community as well. But we also have different partnerships. We have these partners that are either in individual environment or not. So we will welcoming people here that are very important in Quebec. The people that are here today with us are actually, they are main director, leaders, and principal, and they're part of the major research. So we're welcoming today Julie Richard and Anne-Marie Leclerc that from the Observatory of the Reality Urban Indigenous People. And Anne-Marie is working with scientific residents. I'm really, really happy to invite them to present their work that they've been working on for the last few years. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much. I am with Anne-Marie Leclerc. Both of us, I think we're happy to come along with you today and make your presentation. The idea today is really to present you the work that the observatory is doing and our experience in the research, and specifically the genius idea that we have, which is in residency work that we are doing right now. So any question, we will have a period at the end of the discussion, but do not hesitate to take note. If I'm boring, well, send me little hearts or something like that to stimulate me. But as I said earlier, we're there to present the innovative practices and the researches done by the native Indigenous people in the centers. So in our presentation, what we will talk about is firstly, what is the observatory is doing exactly? Why the observation is so important and the reflection that we have, and how did it bring about the creation of the observatory, and also different lines of action. So as it is set up, actually, I will develop through the framework for research by Indigenous people. So we'll see. I think that collectively we will be able to present fully the topic. But finally, we'll start it with Anne-Marie that will go more in a concrete situation, and she really talk about the line of action in action as a scientific person in residency. We talk about the procedures, why an observatory, why the friendship centers have given themselves this duty or this situation. So we talk about observation, we talk about research, we talk about the friendship centers movement. I guess from Carol, we started such a long time ago. Carol is with us. We had some reflex, and sometimes there was a lot of these people that were there, and they see the importance of creating allies and improve the knowledge. Specifically, um, it, it's also the most secret things that is kept in Quebec. The native people in urban situation, it's very different. So we most of the time we have organization in the communities, but the Indigenous people in the urban situation is very different. So most of the time, actually, the Friendship Center has develop this gaze, this attention to the Indigenous people in urban situations. So through the scientific data, we're being able to deal this situation and put this shed the lights on the Indigenous reality. So the the announcement of the creation of this observatory was really a collective decision. We talk about the friendship center that are mostly presented. We will be discussing about it. And then this brings us to some kind of a consultation with external bodies and also within the movement of Native Friendship Centers as well. And it happened in about June and November, actually, 2023. We met elders, we met university, we met different collaborative, a long date from a long time we've been working with them. So we're talking about what the kind of environment that we're dealing with in Quebec City. It's to condition ourselves based on an observatory and how and what will emerge from this observatory. So it did brings us to a reflections um, on the axis of development that was tabled at the administration councils, and it was adopted in January. So in a whole, actually, this report was delivered in January. So it's a great family. It's a collaborative approach type of thing and reciprocity that we have in the friendship centers environment. We have 11 friendship centers in Quebec that are members of the movement that are present here in different cities and about 14 cities actually. We have uh, some people that are with us here. I didn't get the name. I think so. We're really, really present here, and we're really covering the Quebec territory. In the union movement, there's also a movement here from friendship centers, and they have as a mandate to sort of improve and enhance the centers with Indigenous people that have to deal with the context of urban setting. There's also le regroupement, which is really the collective tools, the major tools. This is where actually the organization itself is overviewing of the people in cities, and also the observatory as well that is also joining this movement. She was talking about the Native Friendship Center, the professionals associations, and so forth. So actually, you have here the map of the Friendship Centers movement in Quebec. This map is available on the website of the regroupement. You have it, I think, at www point something. Uh, it just brought us to have some kind of a reflection regarding the operational situation and the axis of development. We came here to suggest roles and function on the observatory to try to find the vision, mission, values, an orientation, a vision, organizational structures, and also and mainly themes and data to prioritize because whether you like it or not, it covers a lot of fields, but yet we need to have to concentrate ourselves to the development of the observatory. Actually, the observatory is very simple. There's three roles, actually. It's to gather together, to understand, and it's actually to gather all the information. So this is will be translated in the next month. So we have gather, understanding, and sharing. These are all the important roles that we need to develop. And also we'll want to really shows the what the Indigenous reality are. We wanted to go up farther, actually. We want to gather all these data in order to sort of put it in a certain limits. We also wanted to understand, because sometimes there are ways of doing things that needs a different kind of understanding, and we need to understand what is really the situation in urban situation, to understand the data that are being gathered for in order to generate this knowledge. And it is all contained in the movement of friendship centers. And the last component, and not the least, it is to share, because we know very well that the First Nations people, the sharing, the working together in team collaboration is a major important, is a core of their activities. So we wanted to really share the well-kept secrets, and it shouldn't be not that much of a kept secret, but it was misunderstood. Our vision, actually, it's really that the knowledge, and this should really benefit the society fully. We also registered ourselves in a process that we really wanted to sort of balance the different reports and the different the collaboration. We really wanted to contribute. So it's really our mission. Actually, this is the vision that we have given ourselves. We also give ourselves concretely, it's to gather, share, and we need to share our knowledge, relationship with the Indigenous community, putting in the heart of our participation, First Nations people, and with for the benefit of all society. We're really in a spirit of collaboration, getting close one another, and gaining knowledge and sharing it. We have values. These are the values that are also registered within the Indigenous friendship centers as well. It is really, really incorporated. We cannot be disconnected from the regroupement of French friendship centers, because it's very important. So we associated to their value that was really, really connecting with their own values that we have decided to promote forward. So these value is integrity, collaboration, engagement, respect, innovation, and this is really, really the action that we want to promote and put forward. We have 4 strategic orientation for our action plan, and we just announced it, and it will continue all the way to 2027. I think that we want to build. Firstly, we want to position the observatory also. It's a must. We cannot avoid it. We cannot bypass it. We want to assure the viability. Of course, we're registering ourselves in the context that is an independent research process or situation. So we want to be able to work within this area. We also want to deliver the first results, and it is sharing the research coming from our glances, our views, our vision, and to make sure that we'll be able to understand clearly for all. Our team, actually, and our organizational structure here, as I said, we came into the movement, so we have a consultative groups, and we come to support our observation. We will not be an independent an entity, independent, completely connected. We really wanted to melt together, to really get together. Right now it's building, this team is building. We're recruiting, actually, maybe, but it will also be composed of 9 members. They will be representing a different movement of the Friendship Center of the la CIRCAC. We will also have other representative, other members of our different organization, Indigenous organization also, but within the friendship centers, because we are also associated with other Indigenous organizations. And finally, we do have also elders. Our elders are women. They are knowledge keepers and carriers. As a support to our consultation group, our advisory group, there are some people that will come to support us in the different other types of times, working on specific files and Actually, it's a network of collaboration because we need a collaboration. The team, of course, we do have a team. It's very important to have people in our observatory to support us. So we have two researchers that have joined us recently. We have a research advisory. We have also an expert in evaluation of the program and services. And we also have the special analysts that will doing our data analysis. And we also need some agent in order to roll this whole thing. So this is about the structure that the observatory has sort of given itself to support our work. We also have, through this large consultation, we have to identify different thematics. We'd like understand everything, but we do have some priorities. Our first thematic, which is the heart of the observatory, is the question of the understanding of the culture, of the identity of the Indigenous people. These really are the heart. It's really our main thematic associated to that and to the consultation that we have with the movement. With three other themes have emerged that seem to prioritize improve the knowledge and what are the realities of Indigenous people and there's a question of housing as well. Housing, it's seen as having a place to be a territory, not necessarily, but the idea is to understand what is the mobility of Indigenous people, their concept and their vision of indicators of they're mobile people. It's a question of homelessness as well that will be looked into as a question of health and wellness, the vision of health as it is expressed itself in our clinics and so forth. How is it also very specific and different from different individuals, especially in urban settings specifically, maybe because of the identity with territory. So we will have a look at this. And then also there's a governance aspect. I said it often, the Movement of Friendship Center. It's it's a creation, if I may say. It doesn't register itself in the whole. Even if there's rules and laws to respect this, there's not a creator, a creation in nature. So how this governance is applied is seen, is envisioned. This self-determination is translated by the movement. So it's a different thematics that we will be looking into it in order to sort of express that so we could finally understand what is the aspect. Combined with this thematics, we could really create a dashboard with different indicators that we will follow regularly. We will supervise and monitor it. And how could I say? It's a sort of view of the urban reality with Indigenous people. There's so much, the Indigenous reality is in movement. It's so varied and it's so active. And there's a search for self-identity. There's a lot of limit in the data that are available in order to give them a perfect profile. So it's very important that we could understand the idea of identity and culture and so forth. Just to give you a little bit of a statistics here to show you what will First Nations people looks like in the Quebec cities. It's a reality, as I said, it's increasing. We also have the reality, the Indigenous realities that were born in urban settings. They have an interest as well for their culture. They've never been on their territory, but they have a thirst for it. So, so we want to really understand this reality. They were born in a city, they live in a city, but they still have a longing for their culture. So in Quebec, within the last statistics that came out, it's almost like 50 villages and cities that are really where the First Nations people are really living in. It's identified. It's like Robertval or Montréal. Not only they're present in everywhere in the territory. Observatory want to give improve this understanding of that and show this profile. Yes, help Friendship Center as well, but over and above that, there's more than the growth is about 47% since 2016, what was done in the last assessment. It's 80,570 First Nations people and Inuit people living in cities. So I thank Carole Hiver that really collaborated and kept and collected these data because we cannot use the statistics given by Statistics of Canada because it's not right, it's not precise. There's limits in the data that are collected with the Statistic Canada. So thanks to Madame Carole Lévesque, we were able to get a more precise view of the situation. So in a nutshell, we could estimate about 61.5 of First Nations people anyway that are actually representing their nation in the city. One thing for sure is we have double more than half of the presence of the Indigenous people. These data are quite new. We're talking about a turnover of a complete new generation. There's a lot of things that needs to be understood. So in order to help us in our research work, this is the next presentation. This framework, it's how to find the presence of the Native people in urban settings. We did a research on that. And we've seen the story of colonization and so forth in the urban, but we have to address it in a context that is completely different than the scientific research. The way we look at it is a complete different new vision, because we need also to consider history, because the history always have an effect on the research when it deals with the Indigenous people. We could compare to this the friendship centers are sort of the certain framework that they have developed is the profile of Indigenous people in urban setting. So they're very well known, they're recognized, but we go farther because we register ourselves, we sort of fit into something that is completely different, because it's a relationship of community, but this community relationship is different in the city than they are on a reserve. So we need to develop a special tool in order to develop this research in urban settings. So actually this translates itself through a reference framework of the friendship centers, and it sort of comes and presents the major line, the highlights of and action lines in order to help the researcher in collaboration, and a collaboration that will be appropriate. And we come here in a work in a sort of a relationship of co-creation. We start by a literature review, which is done internally. We look at the aspect very scientifically, but there's a lot of literature that is already storytelling through our movement. And secondly, from this literature, this review, we mobilize the young people, the elders, the different friendship centers. We brought them up together and to develop a co-construction process. And we would like to, this research will be done in the urban centers and in the friendship centers. In a general way, research of the data is something very important for Indigenous people. We want to take part of it, but we want it to be useful and beneficial for us. So the importance of working together and in collaboration and relationship, and that is really described itself in four themes. The recognition of the Indigenous people must be at the center, or the REACH project must be at the center of it all, and in the essential construction must be because it's very, very important. The construction should be recognized, valued in all levels level of the research. There's a will also, which is the principle called reciprocity, which wants the research that is based in a collaboration, ongoing collaboration, and on an equal basis. No one is over and above another one. We want to work together. We want to develop a process, learning process, apprentices, learners, and we all have a heart to simultaneously grow into this knowledge and use the knowledge. There's also another principle. We want research has to be useful for the movement, for the friendship centers as well, and for the specifically the Indigenous people in the urban centers. There's many things that are interesting, but it has also to be useful. That's important because it will links with the commitment, and also we have the last topic, which is pertinence, which is to see for the future generation, not to just concentrate on the current research project, but to see it and to view it in a realization that is established itself in a broader view. And it will bring the Indigenous people in urban setting to reappropriate the research, make it personalized, make it specific, and it will definitely sort of build a new wave, new generation. Uh, uh, if we look at the historical research from past, of course, the member of First Nations people were not really the heart of it. And so this is really an ethic that is guiding partnership that we have in place, and even our own work at the Observatoire with our movement. And we make sure that it's really, really well done so we could really keep close at the right target. We have action lines as well often in Indigenous people, and so we have the knowledge, the capacity. It positions itself in the concrete reality. So we have 8 lines of action. So it will be important for the Friendship Center. We're working together. We have the capacity and autonomy for the different organizations. It should be reinforced, especially in urban settings. Like I said, it's giving and giving. And yes, all the knowledge and expertise of Indigenous people are really recognized. They should be recognized. They should be respected, and they should also accept this authors' rights and also this diversity and all different communities and organizations in urban settings should participate actively. The wellness, the consent, the rights, and it has to be very well documented. We have a double position on which we need to be ready. How could I say that? We need to be really up and up as being in the Indigenous observatory. We should not sort of fall over but we should not fall over on the other side of the line, like the other extreme kind of it. It's not because that we have an position and a solid position in research that we need to reproduce what is being done elsewhere in Quebec. No, it's or compare or do the same thing as other organizations. So it brings us to be more vigilant, more acute when we deal with participant in research. And it translates itself in many, many different ways. These principles here, these actions and these guidelines and so forth. I'll give you a few examples here on the screen, but we're talking about co-writing and the scientific research. We're talking about changes of rhythm and with research program. That means that we will go on the territory, we'll take time to understand and know each other, to become friends. And this is very, very important. Go in the areas where specifically and really experience and understand the reality right on this on the territory. This is the example that I think like that, but sort of gives them this plus value and make it concrete, the principle that we want to put forward. Another way also, which is really, really concrete to put this in action, but of course, the process that we have with Anne-Marie and to welcome her as a scientific in residence and into the observatory. So it's a concrete way to develop a relationship that will be a long term, and it will be giving and giving, giving and taking. And I will let my colleague continue. I spoke a lot and very fast, and I will let my colleague continue. So Uh, Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're very numerous here. I will present a little bit to sort of contextualize what Anne-Marie has presented to you. I'm from the Department of Scientific Nursing at University of Montreal. And why am I scientific in residence? Because this year I really want to sort of build a research. It's actually called Action and Action, Line of Action and Action. I wanted to take time with the collaborators to be listening, to work to to be able to learn together and listen to each other. It's worked well so far. It was in June, but it's so vast, it's so complex. So right now I'm interested and involved with the friendship centers right now. So I knew a little bit of the movement. I was familiar with it because I've worked with them in the past. So like Audrey mentioned earlier in the introduction, I worked on the Committee of Institutional Transformation. Things are changing fast. I'm really happy to come in right at this point, sort of like, because there's a lot of open-mindedness. It's so inspiring to see and to be able to contribute in such a way to research so that the research will be done in a better way, more appropriate. Actually, science in residence or researcher in science and residence. Of course, the Research Center from Quebec, the funding from the program of the Fonds de Recherche de Québec. Normally, the role of a scientific in residence is a one-year program, and some people that join in would be the one that just finished their doctor's degrees. So I've been through this already. And it's sometimes it involves or ministries, different governmental organization or municipal organization. And the role actually, well, it does involve people between 18 and 35, of course, if they just finished their doctorate degrees. And the role of this scientific advisory group did not want it to be more political. I wanted to be right on the ground, right on the field. I'm a nurse. I'm a nursing teacher, so I really want to have my hands on the situation. So, what does it look like? It's a one-year mandate that I have. This is how exactly it looks. What are the colors of it? And since I'm already a teacher, so it's a question of perspective and reciprocity, where I could really contribute and bring my expertise as a nurse in the field of health. It's also put it all together. This is what I was really most interested in and most animated by. For me, it's an exchange of apprenticeships and learning process and exchanging experience also and professionalism. The wellness is one of the 4 axes that we've talked about, so this is very important. In a sense that it's a collaboration that existed already because Indigenous people are really well connected with their well-being. So I really moved right into it, and I collaborating with what already exists and that has a mandate. It's not what's written here on the slides, but I'd like to work with the nurses that are really working in the communities already through my role of nurse, but not only that, by being part to animation, make sure that each nurse that is working there would be connecting, exchanging with each other, sort of create this community of connectivity. So, because they're normally nurses and doctors in communities, they kind of work more in an isolated way. So trying to sort of melt the whole thing and establish. So in my research, I have also this role of connecting people. I'm really happy to be able to associate the scientific component, but also the connectivity component. Because in clinics and so forth, the nursing groups, sometimes the nurses are hired by the Friendship Center. So what is the winning formula? This is what I'm really trying to evaluate and assess here. You have this role of we have discussed a lot what is actually this role, but you have the scientific and also this collaboration aspect. We developed this with the observatoire work teaming because we need to try to respond to this specific need. It really is fits in our line of action in our framework. Reference framework because it comes in at a solution to some of the issues that we have, and then at the same time benefit from your scientific knowledge that we have. We know that we'll be able to translate it, so we bring it with us everywhere. It's part of the group right now, and this is how we see it, this collaboration between scientific and reality. My motivation, actually, my objectives and motives is to learn. But if I realize that, as I said earlier, sometimes I read things, I know things, but it's just intellectual. But when I'm right on the community, it's a different approach. It's a different feeling. It's a different kind of knowledge. And so I'm trying to really to sort of um, fit these two together, sort of melt them together and make some kind of a fusion. So the objective also is to decolonize the programming, because in our knowledge, we need to, in scientific knowledge, we have a very strict knowledge, very strict. It's very hard to change things. It's very rigid. And people say it just doesn't work. There's a lot of things we know, but it doesn't work. I think that really maybe if I would redo my doctor's degrees or thesis, I would do it differently. I would approach it differently, but it's part of the evolution. There is no specific thesis that were done, or how could we change this? How could we have a decolonization approach? It was always colonization approach. So we need to destructure that and rebuild it in different approach, but always in collaboration with the Indigenous people. And also a self-determination in research. We need to support it. We need to encourage it. We have a funding request from Recherche Canada. I can help in another way. Well, this is what I would really like to do. This brings another aspect and component. And networking, of course, creating sustainable bonds, and I know that in residence it's different. And benefits for the researcher. This is a slide. I sort of what I went to see what literature was saying, but the idea is to identify the areas of research that are priority. Not, there's a political theory. Of course, we have more time to do it if you really put in as a priority. It's not necessarily sitting in our university offices that we can do this. So it's sort of help translate the knowledge in action. This is the benefit of the researchers. This is what we learn to do. But at the same thing, if you cannot translate it in an action, and if you cannot apply it or implement it, it's a waste. So of course, in residence, we also have this role, the benefit to learn, how to learn, how to make it an action. But my family, when I talk about that, well, for them, it's a little bit weird. So I find more ways of introducing it, actually. Visibility of the work of a researcher. if I explain to them theoretically what it is, they sort of have an idea. But if I explain it closely what the interest is building. Maybe for now, maybe that's what I'll be doing as a researcher in residence. Maybe in the future I'll change, but right now, with a doctorate, we don't not forced to be a teacher at university. It depends. We could develop other applications, and I think this is what I would really like to develop. The benefits, the reciprocal benefits. Well, it's a sharing of knowledge, which is very important for Indigenous people. All this knowledge needs to be not only collected, but shared. It's not only in the scientific world, developing relationship as well is absolutely important. It's actually it's the basis, the foundation of building this collaboration and this. So Julie really, it really demand a lot more work with Julie. This is why today we're building this, so we're presenting you this topic today to get in collaboration with Julie and I, and development also of trying to develop new paths, new ways for research in the future. So this is the role I have. I would also add, as far as benefit, Anne-Marie presented the benefit, but there's also on the kind of benefits from this, because for us, developing a relationship is a very long-term process, and it means that somebody is committing themselves. People like Julie, like Anne-Marie, we translate it in long-term because it's a commitment actually. It develops the vision, it develops the wellness. We always discuss it ensemble, but it's even way over and above research per se. This relationship that we're building, it's really getting involved in the thoughts. It's really imbibed in it's very important. I think that these are really winning situation and actions that will benefit all. So you have the references here if you'd like to take a second to copy it. So that would bring us at the last slides. So if you have any question, if you seems to have sort of tickled your interest, so well, the questions are here. You can ask your question or write it in the chat. Well, thank you very much, actually. Thank you very much, both of you, to have presented us the field in which, or the web in which you're working on. But thank you very much for this presentation and showing us, because it's important for us. It's been a long time that recruiting is doing research, or the regroupement is doing research, but it's very important to move forward. I can't wait to see the results. It's really interesting. I can't wait to see the work that you'll be developing with this approach. So we will let space for people, participants, to ask questions. Do not hesitate to raise your hands, comments. If you need to use the three little dots to put the hands up, you could do so, or you could just go directly. You could also write things on the chat. Yes, somebody asked, is it possible to have a copy of the presentation? Yes, I think so. I think that through ERRSA-Qc-NEIHR, yes, we will make it available. And I see the question regarding the denominator for the 10%. I think that is it would probably be 1% that we should have seen, and it is through the whole population. So it's right at 1% right in, and so 1% of the Indigenous people in Quebec are in urban setting in the whole of the Quebecois population. So there was a correction here in a percentage on one of the slides, I guess, that she's referring to. Oh, don't talk all together. If people want to say which one of the both of us is the tallest one, so we'll stand up and you'll see. But now we're sitting down. Mode. Well, Thank you for your presentation. Je m'appelle Maude Allais-Liberté. I work with a commissionary of health and wellness. I don't have a question for you strictly. I just want to congratulate you and salute you for all your work. And really, I just appreciate how important the work you're doing. And really, because many times my team is really confronted with lack of data and the data that are not existing. So this is really fantastic what you're introducing to us. I want to congratulate you and hope to continue working with you. Madame Lévesque. Thank you very much, Martin Lévesque. I'm a researcher in ergotherapy. And my question actually, well, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation and your collaboration and so forth, and building relationships and so forth. It's beautiful to see the whole picture. It's very inspiring. I was asking you, do you have any advice to give to a researcher that, for myself as well, but to colleague, how to develop relationships and eventually being able to collaborate and communicate with people in urban setting. Precisely, I'm in Montreal myself as well, so we know that the organizations are really solicited, overly solicited, and we want to respect that and due to the organizational context. But if it's possible, I was wondering, what do you think about this? Aside from being present when there's event, go to different presentation or event that you're giving, but other than that, you have really stated already a good orientation, but like you said, we're only 1% of this whole picture. So of course, we would love to be part of all the subject and be part of all the work, but we are a minority within a minority within a minority. So I think that just to be at the site and just to listen and be, it needs to be useful, beneficial. So you really need to adhere to the reality of the Indigenous people. You name it, we made it, but the importance of relationship is very important. This builds a time. Uh, and to be curious, I think about it already is the first step in to get interested in First Nation, what they're doing. Not just be interested on the 21st of June and the 30th of September because they are important Indigenous days, but every day somewhere, somehow trying to get closer and doing something and be always continuously interested. I'm not saying you're not interested, but be acute, be aware, be present. You have to accept that their rhythm will be different, of course, because we have to heal, firstly, regarding research through a story and how the research was used. My mother is a residential school survivor, and it still is in me. There's a whole story about how the research was done and used for. So, but at one time, the opportunity will present itself. I'm not worried about it. We've seen it in the creation of the reference centers. It is important research for us, improvement of the knowledge, sharing and translation of the knowledge, but we're probably at another rhythm. But eventually, we'll meet and continue to do what you're doing. It's fantastic already what you're doing. But Anne-Marie, do you have something to add? I think that Martin, you've already named it. It's like you said, Julie said, it's not automatically a relation. Oh, yeah, I could have a project out of it. It's not necessarily that easy. Oh, interesting. Then I could go and get myself a funding or something or a place for make my business. No, but it's another thing. You have to work and prepare it ahead of time. You have to inform yourself. You get involved. You have to get close to the situation, and then eventually it will merge. In falls, I was an under presentation and the people that had really hard different experiences. So they would send an email, people were not answering. I'm not criticizing here, but that's their situation. people are nervous and hurry and they say, oh my God, I didn't get any response to my email. So, but sometimes there are 50 demands that coming a day, but sometimes the demand is, or the claim is really important. It's just one out of so many of them. I'm really, really grateful and super, super grateful. It could have not worked, but I knew it was impossible that it would not work. So you have to play and adjust it to this reality. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's the situation as it is. Pierre. Very beautiful presentation. I have a question and perhaps an idea or a suggestion. The first is you talked about a project with the clinics of proximity clinics, if I understood clearly, in order to try to improve and better understanding of the Indigenous reality. But in urban center, of course, there are great needs in the hospital setups. I give courses to the doctors of referring to cultural safety. There's a great need of knowledge and to better equip the staff, the hotel staff. It's a large project, but I was wondering from the proximity clinics, would it be sort of a bridge that we could bring staff training in the hospital regarding the cultural safety in order to help better the relationship with the urban engineers. Of course, we cannot put this responsibly on the regroupment of Friendship Center, but this is how we see it by shedding light on these research projects. Then we could sort of find a way to get in. I see a question also. There's another chat regarding this. It's also the access to this data of the urban Indigenous reality. We know we support ourselves on our friendship centers involvement, but the regroupement and the people, Indigenous people in urban cities, they also go in the hospital. They go into other places, but access to the data is becoming an issue. It's it's over our limit. So there's a discussion related to that, but it's part of the reflections that we have. Yes, if we can work together in collaboration, I say it all the time, it's the key, it's the source, it's the core, but Quebec and partner, they also have their rhythm. There are great structures, like it's public structures, organization, it's huge. Us, it's from side to the other that the relationship develops, from small to large and large to small. And it does bring up a good question. I do not have the answer, but if we could contribute and really sort of chew on it, we really hope to move towards this way and that's orientation and better work with the society in general in order to better understand the Indigenous reality and started to bring down the barriers, put down the walls and the limits. I think this is this reality, and it's within this innovation that we will move forward as a society and as we're working together. It was fantastic. It's just that we had a project at Montreal University that we're trying to create. We're trying to create a garden of medicine plants, and also in Mauricie. So we're working on that. So I was wondering, well, first of the thing that we also wanted was to spread it and offer it to the community and to the students at this university. So I will get in touch with you in order to see in Montreal and Mauricie what are the possibilities, how we could export this, how could we develop a workshop on this medicine gardening, and also broadening the path of health and we're still on the mountain here, or we're in Indigenous territory, and we're in a city in Montreal. Maybe we could create a connection through plants, medicine plants. Maybe we could open up a path there. Thank you, Pierre. Joanie, thank you very much for your presentation. It's a great idea.
année sabbatique, comme on dit,
I
de
sort of used the sabbatic
rechercher.
year, Anne-Marie Leclerc,
C'est ça, joindre les deux.
a
Connaissance.
sort of
Je me demandais,
set
considérant
back in
que
order
ça
to.
dure seulement un an, est-ce que vous avez pensé à un plan justement de transition
Have you
pour les
thought
autochtones
of
d'ici
a
là, pour que ça
transition plan?
évolue
How could do we make
parce
this
que
knowledge
malheureusement,
move
c'est pas toujours
forward?
facile.
Unfortunately,
Ben, en fait, je sais qu'il y a une date d'un an, mais
I know that there's a 1 year limit,
moi, ça me
or
dérangera pas,
but
tu sais, dans le
to
sens où
me,
on
it
peut
will not end in a year.
continuer
Definitely something else will
même si
develop and stem out of it,
je
and
fais juste
which
cette
there will
année,
be a different way.
je me vois, on n'a pas parlé, mais
We
je
didn't
me vois
talk about it
vraiment
yet, but I could see myself
développer des
really
dossiers ou des choses plus
building up files, opening up new
systématiques
files.
de
I
développement.
don't think that it's a
Mais il n'y
drastic
aura pas
end
juste
of a year, but there will
d'informations
not be
comme
no
ça,
end,
parce
because
qu'il
not that I'm saying there will be
y
no
a
end,
vraiment un
but
lien, tu sais, fait que ce soit
we have a
synthétique,
connection. I will say only, I won't say, well, goodbye, my year is ended, my research is over. No, I don't think so.
je pense que ça va être plus
But I think
dans le naturel des choses, là,
it was
que
sort of
je présente aussi
getting
des
into a natural way
puis
of implementing itself. I think it will just setting it the natural way, because it will
peut-être que
respond to the needs. I think there's a work that will stay in, sit in, and move and grow. Uh, Anne-Marie didn't mention, but because we are training right now with the consultation, knowledge consultation circle. So she will move in, and that's a connection with the Observatoire of Scientific Research. And so, of course, I studied, I did some small research work, but I'm not a research scientist. So it's important to have her. She doesn't know, but Anne-Marie doesn't know, but she kind of signed a lifelong contract. But either I will get her to her stomach, because she will tell us what to eat, how to eat, and when to eat. So this has this vision also, but we have accepted to welcome Anne-Marie. We were committing ourselves in something that is way over one sabbatic year that she's taken in order to develop this. We are on the ground. We've had experiences together. We had territorial experiences, but this is very important. These experiences we have gathered together and developed together is very important. And when the Indigenous people are committing themselves to a relationship, it's a relationship that's a long term. I take the image of those. I'm sorry, not the eagle, but the anyways, we come, it's like the herd of birds traveling. Sometimes we change teams, but there's knowledge there, and the knowledge as it is being conveyed and shared, well, we always grab it, and we always some kind of a follow it.
C'est très inspirant.
Like Looney, I think.
Merci
Yeah,
de la réponse.
a wild goose. I think that's what I was looking for, the word. Like the wild goose that travels.
Merci beaucoup pour
Thank you
votre
very much
présentation.
for your presentation.
J'aurais une question.
I will have
Je travaille
a
pour
question.
le
My
réseau
name is
canadien
Ines. I work for a
d'éducation
Canadian network for
à
the
l'environnement et prescription.
you
Donc, je
appropriate
travaille
use
aux
of
éducations sécuritaires.
medicine use. So we're really working on a very secure way, because medication, it's a public health issue. People are using too much medication, drugs, medical drugs, and because it is following the physician's prescription. And so we're trying to really advise of the public and to give the proper medical advice or medical literature to sort of show them what the medication is and does. So we need to also specifically adapt these scientific information to the Indigenous people, because I think this is part of the co-construction, trying to help them in understanding what are these medicine, because it's very different, the medication in the colonized world and with the Indigenous world. So if you have any resources to help, or if you'd like to share your experience of co-construction regarding the medication, I would be really interested. Actually, if I could talk concretely, how we establish a relationship, firstly, because it goes both ways. Sometimes we will get in touch with the researcher because we like their way of doing it when looking for their kind of expertise. But sometimes it's developed through a subject, and sometimes we have our own subject to develop. And I presented it in the strategic plan. We have priority, as I expressed in the presentation. So often, how we start the connection, or we have to realize, will it work? Is it appropriate? Is there's an educational work that has to be done ahead of time in preparation? The movement, we know at the Friendship Center how they work, and we know there are some things and topics or subjects that won't work. In our reality, we have sometimes other emergency to deal with than we know very well our movement, and we support them in that process. And then, of course, if we see that is a win-win situation, well, then we will develop a relationship agreement. And this is how we build our relationship. We have to make sure that it fits in. And also through the experience of the observatory, there's a lot of axis or avenue in your question. There's so many ways that it could then depend on how we're going to develop working, how is it going to work, what is the extent of each of the elements that you have brought to your question. There's a different issues. But we think that what it needs to be adapted first, and all the principle that has to be adapted and respected within the Indigenous reality. There's a reference book and the ways of doing things, and there's knowledge and there's history. Well, actually, at one point, I think that I met your colleague at a Congress. Really? I forgot her name. I had the information that the exchange regarding the prescriptions that the doctors are handing out to different people. There again, you have to see it within a priority. Is it a priority within the priorities? I'll give you an example here. For example, let's say the doctor comes in once a week, whatever. Let's say the doctor comes once a month, and there's a turnover of staff. So getting into that project, I say, well, if we co-construct together, if I don't have to go, and I will be split it, so I cannot point anything, but that's the reality. It's not constant, it's not sufficient. So it is the projects that are very interesting, but how to make it how to adapt it, and I could make it really useful. This is the idea of co-construction. Firstly, it needs a lot of time. You need to plan. You need to you have to not necessarily double, but I mean, we really need about because time and timing is a great issue. If it's a project that it has to be realistic in time. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here. I don't know, whatever. So co-construction takes a lot more time. Oh yeah, this is where I'm coming back to my topic here. But then I need to have a resource. Is it a task that is within the task that I have already? Is it something additional? So we have to really balance all this. It's a different kind of approach. Does it fit in? Do we have the funding for this? It's time, money. So often as a researcher, we have a bit of money, but we have to recognize the capacity to realize things, and also how it fits. Thank you very much. Is it Jenny or Camille that you have met at this college? It's okay. She's a nurse at the University of Montreal. Okay, I forgot her name. I'm sorry, but I would remember her face. But she said that. Do you know where she lives? No, no, no. Okay. I put something in the chat. There's something that tools that were developed regarding medication, because just people have really developed a beautiful booklet here on the medication. It really is important also for elders. It's also a pan-Canadian organization. It's Indigenous, I think. Yes, I understand it. Resource. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So, any other question, comment? Thank you very much for your comment. There's a lot of them here. So remind you, if you have time to fill in the questionnaire, it will help us to better plan our activities and also make sure that we have captured everything that you really wanted to. So thank you very much. We hope that you have a beautiful day. Thank you for our panelists, Julie and Marie. Thank you for all other participants to be here and share with us. And so we will see you next month for the October webinar. Have a nice day.